love the way you think, because here's what I know. I did this. I chased in my 20s and 30s when I was trying to go to the next level. I'd see another marketer and go, oh, I should do what that guy does. Or I'd see somebody selling something like, oh, I should do that. And I chased different things that maybe weren't in alignment with my values, with my core principles, with my ethics, or whatever it was. I chased it and I altered me. And every one of those were dead ends. Like, I can't say immediate dead ends. I chased them. But here's what I know. Now I know my core values. I know what I stand for, and I have the nerve to just market the way I feel, attract the people that I want to attract. And that end byproduct is my brand has never grown faster, quicker, and bigger.
Aloha and welcome to the Groundswell Marketing Podcast, where I connect you to outstanding humans and sustainable ideas. Today's outstanding human is extraordinarily outstanding and full of energy, Dean Graziosi, New York Times bestselling author, multi-millionaire, entrepreneur extraordinaire. He's partners with Tony Robbins. I saw him speaking at Tony Robbins' event, talking about his new launch of his new knowledge broker product for masterminds, which I will go into a little bit. This episode is chock full of so many insights. And what's so amazing about this episode, you guys, is he just really is such a good communicator. I mean, he can really break down his ideas and just express them really cleanly and with so much energy. So I'm just excited for it, and I'm excited for you. So without further ado, let's paddle in. It's time to catch another incoming wave of unique insights, in-depth stories, and impactful ideas. Today, we welcome to the show the one, the only, Dean Graziosi. Aloha, Dean. Welcome to the show.
What's up, man? How you doing? Thanks for that great intro. What's going on?
Did I pronounce your name properly? Is it Graziosi?
Graziosi. Perfect.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Just want to make sure. I was kind of like, I questioned myself as I uttered it. And I was like, I forgot to ask you before, just pronunciation. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And I loved how you introduced literally seconds before I did the introduction that your focus is on building massive value. And I think that's no question that that's your DNA and your brand. And I wanted to just get right out of the gate and talk about your new book. And before we jump into all these other things with Tony Robbins, masterminds and stuff, is I think this really, there's so many people out there that know who you are. And I don't want to dive deep into your long history, but I thought maybe a quick dive into, being an underdog and why this book is so meaningful right now. And then we can jump into some marketing and stuff.
Yeah, great, man. Hey, first off, I shared this with you before we turned on record, but I love what you're doing. The world needs this. The world needs more access to capabilities, to direction, to be able to build the confidence to get unstuck. If I think back, God, I started being an entrepreneur over 30 years ago, but 25 years ago when I was dying for more content, more mentors, more examples, there really wasn't much. There was no iTunes, there was no podcast, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, none of that existed. You couldn't even watch a video online back then. And I was dying for it. I was dying for access. So what you do is, in my opinion, beyond noble. And what an amazing thing. You get to extract other people's capabilities, your own, and share it. For me, I had to find two older people in my town, Joey Noto and Dominic Affuso. It was two older guys in town that were doing well. And I wanted to model what they did because I saw that my parents worked really hard and really long hours to have nothing. We lived in a trailer park and I lived in, miscellaneous places with nothing. And I really got lucky to see that hard work didn't mean success, but I craved more. And I was lucky enough to watch an infomercial 25 plus years ago and buy a course from this guy, Tony Robbins. Everybody thought I was crazy, but it helped me so significantly. And then he introduced me to Wayne Dyer and Eckhart Tolle and Dale Carnegie and Jim Rohn and all these great teachers. And I got into the self-education business because of that. And by 1998, I did my first course in training and my own infomercial. And God, that was, 22 years ago. So along that journey, I'll just share this. I think this is the easiest way to share my bio with everyone because if you're taking the time to listen to us today, I want to serve. I want to give back at the great. Time is our greatest asset, and you're here with us. So I want to deliver something that you can immediately implement in your life. Take what serves you from this and throw the rest away. But I'll just say this, along that journey, I just wasn't someone who went to college, didn't feel I was smart enough, and had dyslexia really bad. So plus no money. That was just my path. Doesn't mean going to college is bad, but my journey, I know what it's like that I always wanted more. I wanted to retire my mom. I wanted my dad not to work that hard. They were split, but I still wanted to take care of both of them. And I know what it's like to try and fail. And then I know what it's like to get my first sale and get my first business going. And I fixed wrecked cars and sold them. Then I bought rundown houses and flipped houses and had apartments. And I know what it's like to get to $100,000 a year and then lose it and fail, and then get to $1 million a year and go back down. And I got to 10 million a year. I've been at 100 million a year plus. And I've been blessed to have that whole roller coaster. I know what it's like to have that inner voice telling you you're freaking crazy. You're a dreamer. You're not that smart. You didn't go to school. This isn't going to work. You're going to fail. And I also know what that inner voice that says, shut that voice up. We got this. You have a compelling future. Don't listen to everybody else. Let's go for it. Luckily, that second voice was just a little bit louder than the voice telling me that I couldn't make it. And I know sleepless nights. I know worry. I know envy. But I also know what it's like to impact millions of people. I know what it's like to, now I have multiple New York Times best-selling books. I've, been in the public eye for over 20 years. My brands and my company's over $1 billion. I'm blessed to be dear friends with the guy who changed my life. Tony Robbins is my dearest friend. We talk pretty much every other day. We launched a program together helping people right now in 80 countries. It's become a movement. So the only reason I share all that is not to brag, because I promise you, in your darkest days, I've been there. In the days you wanted more, I've been there. But I've also been on the other side. So I think today, I promise to be through that lens of both sides. So it's not just, oh, it's great and peachy up here, you should join us. It's like, I know where you've been, I know where you are, and I know where you want to go. And hopefully today we can share some good stuff to help you get there faster.
Brilliant. So in all that journey, you've gone through so many iterations of your businesses. What would be some of the marketing insights that you've learned? Something that you've refined and so forth? Because I think people are listening. They're looking at what's the help you get there further faster. Yeah. Like you said, time's invaluable. Like, what have you learned from a marketing standpoint?
Love it. Great question. So, I didn't, this is not my term, and I've been saying it for years. I robbed it from somebody, but when I look at marketing, it's like simplicity on the other side of complexity. Like, my life feels that way. When I was a kid, I thought it was going to be simple. Then it seemed really hard for 25 years. And now I just seem to step back and it seems easier. And I feel the same way about marketing. Is we get overwhelmed in today's world. Let me back up. There's the art and the science of marketing. So let's just talk about the science for a minute. That is the technology behind it. You're going to run a Facebook ad, an IG ad, a YouTube ad. You're going to do something on LinkedIn, TV, direct mail, radio, and their delivery systems. So where I think the overwhelm comes in today's world is because there's so many delivery systems. When I started, there was none of that. I had to do direct mail or infomercial. I chose infomercial, right? Which was very costly and very expensive. You're $250,000 in to even, before you even know if it's going to be a winner, where now we could spend $100 and know if we're a winner. But let's just talk about the science and where the overwhelm comes in. You say, I see people like, well, I want to get my business going. So should I grow my Instagram account? And should I grow it virally, or should I pay for likes? And do I do Instagram ads, or do I just try to get more followers? And do I do free content, or do I do pretty pictures? Or should I be like Gary Vee, or should I be like Jenna Kutcher, or should I be like Rachel Hollis, or and you all these things, and you get overwhelmed. That's just Instagram. And then you do the same things with Facebook. Do I need 1 million followers? How do I get 1 million followers? Or do I just do direct response? Or maybe my people live on Instagram more than Facebook. No, maybe I have YouTube followers, or maybe I should just do LinkedIn. And we overwhelm ourselves with the science. So let me just back up on that and say, in today's world, there's so many, instead of figuring out how, there's a lot of who. There's a lot of young people under 25 that know all the technology of that. They know how to get your ad up. They know how to create a lookalike audience. They know how to get eyeballs and get people to follow you. So if we take the science side out and say, instead of trying to figure it all out, hire someone. Even if it costs you a little bit of money, work harder in what you do, make the extra money, and hire someone to help you with the science. And then break that down and just start with one. When I transitioned from infomercials over to doing a lot more online, I just wanted to crack Facebook because it seems so overwhelming to me. Like, how do I crack YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all YouTube, like, podcast, I'm like, you know what? Let's just spend 6 months and get it to work on Facebook. And once we did, we were able to roll that into YouTube and then all these other variables. So anyway, go ahead. If you got a question, Scott, I was going to say,
so what you're suggesting is immersion, like focus immersion, champion, and then build your ecosystem one immersion at a time? Or?
Yes. Because I see so many people, they blanket it and then they're trying to get the metrics to work on 6 different platforms and they're just overwhelmed, because that transitions right into what I'm going to say. If you look at marketing as art and science, let's go over to the art side. That to me is the craft that you bring the unique ability. You bring the passion of your business. You bring the unique deliveries, the deliverables you can give to the world, the assets, the impact. And what most people I see do wrong on the magical dance between the art and science is try some art. Let's say that art is a 4-minute ad about your product, your service, your company, your brick and mortar company. You're trying to drive people there. They do one ad and then they're trying it on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, IG. And when it doesn't work, there's 47,000 variables and you don't know where to start. So let's just say we're going to simplify whatever your business is today. We're going to try to get an ad to work. We're going to pick one. We're going to do Facebook, or you pick whatever you want, but I'm going to say Facebook. You get someone to help you with the science side. You create an audience of people that would be most likely. Facebook does all the investigation. They know the background. They know the people you want. So if you're writing a book, find book buyers. If you're writing a book on romance, or you're writing a book on marketing, find people who buy books on marketing who are in your age demographic, right? You can narrow down exactly who you're looking for. With that, now it's time to focus all of it on the art. How do you live? Now, these are 2 things that have completely transformed my marketing. I say 2 things to myself all the time. Scott, I still do it before I go on live TV, live on the internet, before I do a video, all of it. I think to myself, how do I enter the mind of my prospect? How do I finish their conversations? And I obsess. I'll read a gazillion comments. I want to know what my particular ideal client prospect is thinking. And I want to talk to them at their level. So that's the first thing. Enter a conversation already going on in the mind of your prospect. I didn't make that up. That's another one I heard. I don't know who originally said it. But the second part is, and this is really important, is that people buy from you when they feel understood, not when they understand you. So you see a lot of people say, this is me. I've got all this experience. I was in a hole and now I'm on top of the mountain and you could do what I do. You might admire that person, but if you don't feel connected to that person, you won't buy from them or you won't learn from them. So if you enter a conversation already going on in the mind of your prospect and you allow them to feel understood, you are 90% further than anybody else, because most people are trying to just vomit what they're good at. They're trying to show significance, trying to show the fancy cars or that I got skinny overnight or the relationship is perfect. And they're just showing without building a story and a connection and a relationship. So I know that was a long answer to a short question, but I think if I was going to help anybody that wanted to get more momentum, go faster, go quicker, or just come out of the gate, I'd say simplify the science side, pick one outlet, pick one delivery system, and then focus on the art and keep testing until you find the message that resonates. So think through who's your ideal client and have a conversation with them in video or in copy. Same thing on your sales pages, your order pages. Same thing when they come to your front desk if you're a brick and mortar company, is work on that and master it in one outlet. Because here's what I know, Scott. My same, infomercials was my outlet for a long time before this world happened, before the online world happened, and I kept running my infomercial for over 20 years. I took that same I would get to say, people would say, I love being authentic. I'm as real, as raw as I can. I don't have a vast vocabulary. I don't articulate very well. I write the way, if you read any of my books or listen to them, my books are written the way I talk. I do the same thing on podcast, on video. I just try to be the deepest, realest version of me. And I know that's what people want. I took that same thing that worked on infomercials. I did it on Facebook. I switched the message around 5, 6, 7 times. All of a sudden, I found the messaging. I found the art. It worked on Facebook, we raised the budget on Facebook, and then we went into YouTube, and then we went into Instagram, and then we went into LinkedIn, and now we have native ads. So the same art worked everywhere once I mastered the art. Hope that all made sense.
It did. And what about when you have multiple personas, like different customers that are maybe have different behavior, different wants? Like, how do you speak to them differently?
It's great. And you know what I try to do? Because we know with marketing, you don't want to cast too wide of a net. So I think what helped me though is being on infomercials for years. That's what I had to do, right? On an infomercial, you can't say I want to target women between 35 and 50 who are pregnant, like Pilates and eat peanut butter and jelly. You just had to cast this big wide net and hope a mom that liked peanut butter and did Pilates walked by. I just made that up, obviously. Walked by the TV and liked what you said, right? In today's world, we could target pregnant moms who make over 100 grand a year that do Pilates and like peanut butter and jelly, and we could be on their Facebook feed like in an hour from now, right? So we're able to target them. But what I've done, I think, really well because I was on infomercials is I like to talk in one message. You could lump together 2 or 3 different groups. So you don't have to be so niche where you got 20 ads to get 20 different kinds of people. It's like, how are they feeling? What do they need? And what's the end result? And talking to them, lump a couple of them together. And I know I have ads, probably 3 ads for me, 3 different videos cover every demographic that might want any of my services.
So do you feel like it's about human connection?
Absolutely, positively. That was, Scott, I love the way you think because you even expressed that better than I have with just that one sentence you said, because I think we're more connected now than ever before, while simultaneously we're more disconnected. People are connected online, but they walk in through the streets looking at their phone, never looking up. You go to a park nowadays, people aren't talking to each other. They're scrolling on their feed. I think we're more disconnected than ever before. And when you have the ability to give someone a chance to connect with you online, to get to feel who you are and get to understand you, then they want to listen to you. So think less about the pitch and think more about human connection. Get them to know, like, and trust you, not as a manipulative way, have the desire to truly impact and help. And when they do, they're like, okay, I'm going to listen to Scott. I can feel his heart. What do you got to say? And I think it's exponential in the type of results you get.
And that might be a big reason why there's the rise and success of video, because there's a little bit more intimacy.
Yes.
When you're seeing yourself being a little bit raw and real when you're kind of posting videos and so forth.
Agreed. And I would also say to everybody, if you're considering video or you've done it and you feel shy about it, scared about it, I would say the world doesn't want the perfect you, the perfect pitch, looking perfect. The world's just dying for real authenticity. They just want the realest, rawest version of you. And I just watch people exponentially grow when they get that part.
I think I saw a tweet that you said that you posted recently. It was something about your business grew when you became more transparent and authentic. I know I'm just ad-libbing because I just went on memory because I was looking at your feed. True
story. It really grew about 11 years ago. It might be longer now. I was on TV for about 10 years at the time. And I was doing infomercials very old school. Like I followed the format of the Carlton Sheets and even Tony Robbins' first infomercials, kind of followed the model. Tell about the product, get testimonials, call to action. But wait, there's more. And about 10 years ago, I just decided, what if I went on camera in a real life interview and just put myself out there? No teleprompter, no pre-written questions, just the biggest problems that people are facing, and just have a real conversation like our conversation right now. And that show, I did a sit-down interview. It was kind of Larry King style. I offered my book on real estate at the time to the world. And everybody, when they saw it, was like, oh, that's so different. That won't work. You stumbled your words. You really didn't have a great call to action. The call to action was literally me holding my book up and said, hey, if you like what we're talking about today, I think you'll love my book. You could get it at bookstores, or you can grab it by calling the number below. That was my call to action. It wasn't fancy. There wasn't a gazillion bonuses. There wasn't a timer that it's going to go away. And that show changed my life. That show went on to generate, I mean, just as a measuring stick, it generated over $100 million. It changed my company, it changed my life. And it taught me this valuable lesson that people just want the realest version of you. And that lesson was learned probably 10 plus years ago. And I just never forget it.
Interesting. Michelle Soros, she's got a podcast called, I can't remember what it is right now, the Mindset Mashup, sorry. And she works on television in LA, and her success, I asked her, can you give me some coaching on if I'm going to launch this podcast, what should I do? And she said, don't have a list of questions, do your homework, show up and have a conversation, be present. She goes, that's how you actually nail creating and galvanizing an audience for that same reason I think you just described.
Yeah, because, sometimes I see people interviewing, even when I get podcasts, and Scott, this is totally great. I'm enjoying this, even though I'm doing most of the talking, sorry. But
this is why you're on.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what I see sometimes is people are waiting for you to end to ask the next question. Right. So I'll give you an example. I've watched people say something just totally out of the ordinary. So if you said to me, what was your best year in business? I'm just making this up. I'm like, my best year, how about my best week, Scott? I made $42 billion in a week, right? Something, I'm just exaggerating, right? Right. I've watched so many people go, oh, that's great. Okay, so next question. How long have you been in business? It's like if I said to you I made $42 billion a week, you should say, that's BS. How the hell did you do it? Oh my God, if it's real, we ought to tell everybody. Like, just live the experience. Like, there's so many people waiting for you to be quiet so they can ask their next question, and they're forgetting to live the experience. And that's, I think, the greatest thing you could, that's probably why you're doing so well, Scott, is just live the experience. And that's so far better than the perfect question.
Well, isn't that really what I believe the next level is? Conversational type of marketing in sort of like all domains, what other channels you're on. It used to be, show and broadcast and automation's obviously still on the rise. My sense is automation could be very hurtful to your business if you're not careful. If you use automation to create more human interaction, I'm all for it. But, I feel like there's like these two trends. One is this intimacy at scale, which I love, and automation for the sake of, plug and play. And I think the businesses that are going to win it out, and I'm just curious what your thought is, are the ones that are sort of like what we're talking about, is like really connecting on a human level. I think that's the new branding, unique point of difference for businesses that are going to succeed.
Everything you just said is 100% in alignment with my thoughts. I think too many people are trying to automate or outsource certain parts of your business. In today's world, outsource what you can. Just never outsource your marketing, never outsource your connection and the intimacy you create with your clients. That can never be outsourced. And we're all looking for the magical outsource company to do it. And every big company I see grows has to do it themselves.
So do you think that a little bit of that is driven by this angst that's driven by the marketing industry, which I'm part of, although I disagree with, which is this, you got to blow up super fast, 10x this, 10x that. And people have this anxiety because it's a little bit like the Instagram feeds where people are seeing the success, but they don't realize the work that went behind it. And they don't understand that there's a certain level of patience sometimes required for success. Like, what's your thoughts on like put the gas on and being patient? Like, where are you sitting that?
Yeah, really great question. And I'm just going to take one of Tony's sayings that he says all the time. I think Bill Gates said it originally, but Tony says it more, so I'm just going to give it to Tony. But we all overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 5.
Right.
And I think it's so funny. I did a post this morning while I was on the freaking Stairmaster about this. I said, I think the whole Insta-famous world, right? It went from not seeing much success unless you watch like Robin Leach Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Like, it went from not getting to see people having success to seeing too much sometimes and seeing it seemingly from the outside going too fast. The 27-year-old with the Lambo and the jet and the house, right? It's like, and I think sometimes there's a fine balance. So if I go on the mindset side, I just want to tell each and every one of you, progress is your greatest gift. Just be a better version of you tomorrow than you are today. Don't measure yourself against the instant famous, the other people, because if you measure yourself, then envy comes in play. Your ego gets in control of you and you start saying, it's too late. I missed it. I'm not going fast enough. I'm too slow. I'm too lazy. It's all bullshit. It takes way more work than we ever think. I've been an entrepreneur for 30 plus years. I failed miserably. And every time in my 20s and 30s, I thought I'm going too slow. It's not working. I look back now and it went exactly as it was supposed to. I put the time in, I put the energy. We all want more. We all just got done making New Year's resolutions, but what are you willing to do to get it? Right? If you have a full-time job that pays the bills, then schedule 2 hours a night. Say no to all the instant gratification stuff. Get your ass in gear now. Suffer for 2 years so you can have 30, 40, 50 years of greatness. And most people aren't willing in today's world. And I worry about this with my kids. I work really hard. I didn't grow up with anything. I grew up in the trailer park. They grew up with privilege. Like, I do everything in my power to give them that, back to my book, but the underdog mindset, the grit, the hunger. And if you want something, you have to schedule it. You have to be disciplined. You have to go get it. And you have to work 50% harder than you ever thought. You have to be willing to be criticized. You have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to people tell you you're a dreamer and you should get real. All that stuff happens, but it's all worth it, Scott. You know the other side of that, and you know that it is. And that's kind of what I love to share with people is, and this is not a hit a few buttons and you're rich. This is not getting lucky. There is a methodical process that every successful person in the world uses. And once you have the mindset, then it's the right delivery system. Then it's the right marketing. It's the right product. And it's the right ethics and values that you deliver value to your customers. They refer you and you keep going. Like, if you break down every successful business, online business, marketing business, they all kind of got the same fundamentals. It's just we have to be the ones willing to do the work to get there.
Right. I'm glad you touched on mindset. So, of course, to be successful, you have to have grit. In marketing, the mindset of marketing, in my mind, anyways, just my thought, is that there needs to be, like, for the future state of marketing to create this human connection, in addition to the grit and patience and willing to do that, is I think there needs to be a sense of what I'm calling mindful marketing, which is I think you said it right from the get-go, putting yourself in the mind of your customers, but maybe even going a step further and thinking about what's of value to them, what are their fears, and what are you doing in every aspect of your business to be congruent with the values that you're trying to espouse as a business and how you market. And I think if more marketers were to be really mindful of the way that they market, I think that they would attract more clients. And I'm just curious, like, this is a bit of a forward-thinking sort of idea. I just kind of talking about that because you mentioned mindset, but I'm curious what you think about that.
I love the way you think, man. I really do. This is the first time we get a chance to spend this much time together, and I love the way you think because here's what I know. I did this. I chased in my 20s and 30s when I was trying to go to the next level. I'd see another marketer and go, oh, I should do what that guy does. Or I'd see somebody selling something, I'm like, oh, I should do that. And I chased different things that maybe weren't in alignment with my values, with my core principles, with my ethics or whatever it was. I chased it and I altered me. And every one of those were dead ends. Like, I can't say immediate dead ends. I chased them. But here's what I know. Now I know my core values. I know what I stand for. And I have the nerve to just market the way I feel, attract the people that I want to attract. And that end byproduct is my brand has never grown faster, quicker, and bigger. And I would just love to share, if you're listening right now, trust who you are. Just first of all, decide who you are. Sometimes we're somebody different for our parents and somebody different when we go to a nightclub and somebody different at church or somebody different with your spouse and somebody different at work. Like, I know this is going way upstream in the mindset and you're probably like, dude, I just want to hear your marketing strategies. But man, if you decide who you are and who you want to become, there's a great question. Tony asked me when I was 49. He's like, you're going to be 50. Who are you going to become in your 50s? And that was way better than what you're going to accomplish. I want to always decide who I am and who I want to become. And the more I have the nerve to just market the way I am to the people that I want to attract, the faster I grow. And I know Tony got that many years ago, and some of the most successful friends I have done this. So I would just urge you to just really understand who you are. Don't get sidetracked by the other person that's supposedly successful. Be the best version of you and push your values and watch the byproduct. Not only will we impact more lives, the byproduct will be more money in your pocket.
That was a really an amazing point. And I just did a recording with Tim Williams, who's legend in the agency industry. He's the man behind the strategy
Yeah.
agencies. They listen to him. And he makes this really great point, and I completely agree, which is everyone's chasing the best practice. And really, you should be thinking about your next practice. And the next practice is really more about what you can do based on congruency of who you are and the market you service. And it's uniquely you. I think everyone's chasing. I'm in marketing with considered a growth hacker, and people always follow the hacks, but that doesn't necessarily make sense because you could be, like you said, like you could be doing something that's not congruent with who you are. So don't worry about what the best practice is, maybe the next practice. And
Yeah.
I'm curious, what's your next practice?
Yeah. Really great question. I'm in a phase of my life where I just got remarried this year. I'm having a baby this year at 51, and my wife wants 5 more. So my health, my best practice in my personal life is I need to live to 110 now. So I stepped it up another level. But I look back now and self-education, right? If it wasn't for self-education, and I hope this answers your question. Sometimes I go a little more deeper than the surface question, but self-education has saved my life. When I was in high school and I went to the guidance counselor, she's like, "Oh, you're not taking your SATs. You're not going to college. Maybe you could work at the local factory." Like there was nothing, like nobody thought of anything else. It was either college and rainbows and puppies and butterflies, or I was going to go work at a factory at minimum wage, right? And luckily I found what you know so well, Scott. I found learning from other people and mentors, and then I found Tony, and then I found all these other great people. And self-education changed my life so much that by the time I was 28, I was in the self-education business. And I've been blessed to have a lot of great success in 13 different companies. And I've reached a place in my life where my next thing is, along with Tony, we partnered on this, is to help make self-education the new norm. Colleges are failing us. The education system is failing us, and the world needs more exposure to learning from people like you and so many other people that have knowledge, a skill, or an expertise they've been working on. So my next thing is even deeper, authentic marketing, getting people who never thought about being in that industry to be that industry. And you know what? It's driven me in a way so much that I feel more alive than ever before. I just built a new office. I just hired 60 new people. I'm at the office at 7 a.m. I'm here till 10 o'clock at night. And I'm loving it because I found that drive. And again, I know you're talking on the marketing side, but innovation is the driver of all business, right? Innovation. If you don't have innovation, your innovation got you out of Egypt. You got to step up your innovation to get you to the promised land. Like your level of innovation that got you out of the job to start your business is not the same level of innovation you need to get to 5 million, to 10 million, to 100 million. You need to keep ramping up your innovation. And to me, innovation comes out of necessity, a drive, a compelling future. So my compelling future right now, again, I'm mixing a lot of answers here, is to help make self-education the new norm, to expose the world to it. So that backs me into better marketing, bigger marketing, better live cast, better transparency in my ads, more exposure on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TV, direct mail, native ads, YouTube. I mean, and that drive of that huge compelling future kind of lays out my next thing.
Totally makes sense to me. And it's perfectly aligned because my belief in that topic of next practice is combining thoughts and ideas with other people and having a conversation and getting their feedback it's in real time. You're actually forming a strategy. And I know this firsthand because I'm part of Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership. In fact, that's where I first saw you speaking. You were at Business Mastery in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And that's where I joined actually your mastermind program.
Awesome.
So I can learn. And I'm going to create my own mastermind for
I
this
love
very
it,
same
dude.
reason we're talking about.
I love it.
And what I'm thinking, and I'm curious, this is a great segue, is I feel like this is the next iteration of marketing meets innovation, where it's not necessarily about what we're reading. That's something we're digesting, and it's sort of like consumed for the general public. But what's personalized to you, and you have a series of people around you that have different disciplines, you can accelerate and come up with this next practice. And I'm really curious about, just tell us a little bit more about this masterminds, like how you came up with it, how you and Tony have devised this, like the power of it. Because I feel like this is like going to go even bigger than the coaching industry is right now.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Tony and I have been friends for over a decade. And I see so many people wanting to be partners with Tony, and I get so many people asking, and we just decided to be great friends. And we literally talk, I think, every other day. And about 2 years ago, though, we just sat down and said, what if we didn't have self-education? And it was really hard to find it back then. If you weren't a crazy reader, and I wasn't, I had dyslexia, reading was hard. To find the information was hard. And then we talked about how the education system just hasn't kept up with the changing times. And we decided, how do we help people enter the knowledge industry? So what Tony's been doing for 40 plus years and me for 20 plus years is the knowledge industry, right? Extracting what you know, sharing it with people. Same thing you're doing, Scott, right? And the world has changed because we have all these great deliverables, delivering platforms. You could deliver through a Facebook group, through a Zoom call, through a audio, through a podcast, all these great deliverables. And we said, what if we took our 60 years of experience between the two of us and condensed decades into days and created a blueprint that taught everyone that has a skill, a hobby, a passion, an expertise, how to extract what they know and give it to people that need it. So what the world is deciding, right, is the old way or the traditional way is go to school 4, 6, 8 years, get knowledge, get some debt, go out in the workforce, try to figure it out, and then evolve, maybe start your own thing. The world, that's not working right now. We have a whole generation of millennials that have college debt and don't know what to do with themselves. And what's happening, not something Tony and I created, but something we love, is people are opting less college or going back to school and opting to learn from non-professional teachers who are actually doing it rather than the professional teacher in the classroom. So
away from theory into practical.
Yes, exactly. Like mentorship, like Michelangelo mentored 40 other artists underneath him. That's how they became great artists. That's the way we used to do it, right? So what the world is doing, and this is a crazy stat right now, an industry that was barely here 15 years ago, the knowledge industry is about a $455 million a day industry. Forbes said that's going to $1 billion a day by 2025. So it's an industry going straight up where people are going, if I want to learn how to do something, I could go to school for 5 years, or I could go through this immersion workshop over a weekend. I could go to Tony's Platinum Group. I could go to UPW. But what the world is realizing, they don't need to go to a Tony Robbins or a Dean or Scott. If someone is in your space for a year longer than you, 5 years longer than you, wouldn't you love to condense that learning curve? What I always tell people when they say, what's the knowledge industry? I said, how much would it be worth to you to go back and have a one-day conversation with your 10-year-old younger self? And there's only two answers, priceless or millions, right? I'm like, well, that's what everybody's realizing. If they want to learn wedding photography, they go to a weekend workshop with Jenna Kutcher because she knows wedding photography and she teaches people how to do it. They don't go to college for 4 years. They cut her a check and do that. If they want to learn hair, they go here. If they want to learn fly fishing, everybody's realizing there's this new way called the knowledge industry. People are extracting what they know and sharing it in an emerging industry. So with Tony and I seeing all this, we just said, why don't we collaborate and create the gold standard blueprint to teach the world, just like you're starting a mastermind, how to extract what they know and share it on a Zoom call, share it online, share it in person, share it in a community, create a mastermind, create a virtual workshop. And we thought the world was ready for it, Scott. And then we realized when we went live last year and 200,000 plus people showed up. We had the biggest online training in the history of the world, the biggest online launch of our product and our blueprint. And it's become a movement. We're in 80 countries, 24,000 people strong, every niche you could possibly imagine, from school teachers to help people through divorce, help with kids, help with marketing, help with sales, help with fly fishing, hair. There's a woman who paints with alligators. Like, these incredible things are going on all over. And I don't know, it's just become part. We're so stoked at the results we're getting that's why we're going live again on February 27th. We're going to go live once a year, like a State of the Union, and let people be a part of this movement.
How is this different than just doing an online course?
Well, here's the thing. The world has kind of evolved, and I love books. Books changed my life, hands down. Writing books and reading books changed my life. But writing a book is a bitch. I'll just be honest. I just got done with my last book, and it's my shortest, simplest read book. It still took me about 9 months to get that done. And still, I wish I had another 9 months on it, right? And the
I'm at
hard,
10 months right now, and I'm gonna probably be till May.
yeah, it's a bitch. And then selling a book is a bitch. Like that's why Borders went out of business. That's why Barnes and Noble. And here's the worst part: if you don't really know how to market, Barnes and Noble, 95% of all books in Barnes and Noble sell under 1,000 copies. So people write these amazing books, put their soul into it for 2 years, and then sell 300 copies. So I love books, but to teach the average person to write and sell a book is hard. Courses, same thing. Love courses. They changed my life. Tony's course, literally, I'm here because of that man and that course. But in today's world, you got to step up. You saw the course Tony and I created. We got close to $1 million between the course and the software in that. And we went all in to create something magical. The days of just filming a few videos and calling it a course, people don't love it. They'll refund it. They'll get mad, and you need staff. So we said courses are amazing, but for the average person, you don't really need a course anymore. You could do a live Zoom call in 3 weeks from today. And then coaching, which I love. Tony's helped create the coaching world. He's coached people to success before, I was still, I was 12 years old when he was coaching people, right? But the same thing with coaching. Sometimes it's like it's a time and effort community. A lot of coaches get in it. A lot of people in the fitness world, they become a coach. They get $150 an hour, but they still got to work every hour to make their money. There's no way for exponential growth on your time and exponential growth of your income. So all of those are amazing, and I want them to continue to grow. They're all part of the knowledge industry. But Tony and I said, let's focus on workshops and masterminds and communities and groups and online live training, because that's instant. If we teach someone how to extract, most people have unconscious competence. If we teach them how to extract their superpower, their brilliance, they recognize it, their confidence goes up. We teach them how to find people that need that information. You've been an accountant for 10 years. There's millions of people starting out, or hundreds of thousands of people starting out day one to be an accountant, and they need what you already know. So how do you identify them, how to bring them to you, and how to deliver that through an online or in-person workshop or community? And it's proven to be right because it's instant. We have, like I said, we have people doing this in every niche. They didn't have to write the book or build the course or start the coaching. They just extract it, find confidence, find the ideal client, and then deliver it. And of course, we teach them the marketing on how to get that. So I hope that answers the question.
It does, in depth. I'm wondering if, the future state of these masterminds. So, one example that I've seen successfully work, because I've experienced it myself, is when you're with other individuals that are selected, and there's someone in the middle that has a challenge, and multiple people can either hear the coach help solve the problem, and then you can, add comments. So you're learning from your peers. And I'm wondering if there's a future iteration of this is where this becomes, for any business, becomes a way to accelerate your marketing by having your customers come together, and you're solving them, like literally, whether you're a plumbing company. I mean, I hate to use that as a simple example, but like having them come together, and that becomes your marketing point of difference, where you're like so comfortable, and the value you bring is also the customers you actually have as a group and a community.
So brilliant and so true. I mean, I still hold, and I'm part of masterminds all the time. And my best marketing, my best complete straight, my best answers, my best problems to solve come from those communities, hands down. I mean, I really think that's one of my unfair advantages. I still live with my clients all the time. I'm not detached from them. I know their pain. I know their fear. I know what they desire. I know what they want, because I'm still a part of these communities on a regular basis. And the cool part is, Scott, a great mastermind, sometimes you're just the facilitator of great people coming together. It all doesn't have to be on your back. And other times you're the expert in what you do, and you're up front and center and you're teaching. So it's this magical mix that, we're so excited. This is the next 20 years for me. And Tony and I, we're like little kids every time we see a new niche that someone's teaching.
Yeah, you guys it's a gorgeous platform, and that's exactly right. I mean, the podcast is how I started. I have all these amazing relationships with people like yourself that have all this knowledge. And I'm thinking, well, how can I deliver individualized teaching at scale, and bring together just little individual moments throughout the year with these experts, where I'm just not drawing a lot of their time, but enough time that has like collectively has massive impact on people that are willing to pay a lot of money to accelerate the business because it matters that much to them. And I think that more people's appetite for investment for this type of thing is going straight up.
Well, and here's the thing.
I
That's
saw
why
the,
that's
but
why we're screaming from mountaintops, because the more people we get enrolled in this, the more people will see this as the new norm, right? Masterminds and training like that used to be, oh, just go back to school. It's like, no, masterminds, weekend masterminds have advanced my business more than 400 years of school could do, right?
how much money do you think you've invested in masterminds yourself?
Over $1 million. We added it up.
Yeah,
Over
I'm at
$1
about
million.
almost 200,000 right now.
Yeah, over $1 million and over 300 days in masterminds. And people always ask me, what's your unfair advantage? Like, the big question I always get is, how the hell have you stayed relevant on TV or online for 22 years? The answer is masterminds. Like, no doubt. I mastermind with people, kids in their 20s that are marketers, 30s, 50s. Like, I'm always around other people doing it. And I'll always get one or two nuggets that results in exponential growth or exponential impact. And, the more we get people to say, no, you do have a skill, you do have knowledge, time to share it, the more we make this the norm. And if you look at it, even what Tony says, it's like when Tony started, he was sharing Jim Rohn's knowledge, right? And so when you start, sometimes you can be the reporter of other people's expertise. You share it enough, you become the expert. That was Tony's evolution. So I think we hit a really good vein. We're excited about it. And February 27th is going to be pretty damn amazing. I think we'll have another couple 100,000. I'd love to be over 400,000 this year so we can really make an impact.
I can't see why it won't. I mean, I think that what you're seeing, I mean, I've just seen it just even in a year's time with the Tony Robbins Platinum Partnership, and it's like almost doubled, it feels like. And, and people aren't batting an eye at it anymore because they're realizing that the output, the result that they're getting. I mean, I look at the year that I've transformed myself because of being this exact mastermind group it's friendships, it's insights I never would have had. And maybe even another one, which is the relationships. I mean, in fact, I think that's how you and I connected.
We did,
I mean,
right?
really, it was that a date with Destiny with Brad Hart.
Yep, exactly.
So, to me, I think so. A lot of people that haven't been in it, they kind of like they're kind of like, well, what am I doing? But once you're in it, man, it's addictive because you're just like you realize like, man, do I wish I had like you said, back to your former self. I would look back to myself and go, why didn't I do this 10 years ago?
Right, exactly.
Where would I be now?
Yeah, dude. Well, I can't wait to see what you're going to do. And you got to keep me posted on your first workshop or mastermind and realize the one thing to remember is what people realize once they go or once they hold one, once they conduct a mastermind or a workshop or a Zoom call is it doesn't cost you time because you get skills that pay you back exponentially, right? You joined Platinum with Tony. You spent a lot of money to be there. Did you get a return on your money?
Oh, yeah. I'm doing it again next year.
Okay. So you got a return on your money, but I love to talk about your return on your time. Because if you learn new strategies that allow you to go quicker or faster, or you get a connection that one thing doubles your revenue, all of a sudden you start buying time back. And when people start realizing that workshops and masterminds and all those things buy back time, they have an ROT, return on time. They have a return on investment. They have there's a bigger byproduct where you feel more normal. As entrepreneurs, we're the loneliest people on the planet because all of our friends and family have been thinking we're nuts our whole lives. All of a sudden you're around a community where you're all the same. There are so many byproducts that Tony and I are going to push this for 20 years until the whole world sees this. And I appreciate you being a part of this.
You nailed something really big, which is the mindset, the support. Having support as an entrepreneur or just in business in general with like-minded individuals that sort of like you were saying at the beginning, they can empathize because they've been there and you can relate to them. And yet they have some tools or ideas to, bring you further faster to get through it or even to think better of it. I mean, my mindset's never been better because I just got like a group of people in my mastermind that are just, they hold me accountable to my thinking. And I'm finding myself that I like that accountability.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, man. I'm so excited for you, dude. I'm glad we had the opportunity to have a chat today. But I'm so excited about your future, and you got to keep me updated on your growth and expansion. I know you're meant to keep growing and going. So I can't wait to watch it.
Thank you. Well, I'm excited to launch my first mastermind here in 2020, and I've got your platform to teach me some of those ins and outs. And I'm going to work with Brad, hopefully on giving me sort of use a mastermind actually with him to get me to make the best mastermind possible. So maybe this is about a good time for us to kind of really give people some information where they can find more information specifically about that.
So if any of this resonates with you, and even if it doesn't, and you want to see what Tony and I are up to, don't miss it. Last year, we had over 200,000 people show up live, and legit, Scott, within the next week, we had close to 250,000 emails of people saying, oh my God, I missed it. When are you going live again? And it's one of those things, it's one shot, Tony's time is crazy. My time is crazy. Once a year, we're going live to share how you could become a part of this knowledge industry. How can you share your knowledge or someone else's, impact lives and get paid? And it's what we all crave to do. And we have a special link set up, and write this down right now, Groundswell.link. Groundswell.link. When you go there, there's a page with Tony and I where you can register. That's where you're going to reserve your spot, and then put it in your phone, put it on your refrigerator, put it on your laptop, and don't miss it. We're going live on February 27th of 2020. We're going live. It is the only time we're going to be live. We'll do some Q&A at the end. We got some great guests coming. And we also did some special training videos. As soon as you register, you'll get some training videos of Tony and I that we shot just for those that register. They're no place else on the planet. And join us live and see what it's all about. See why this has become a movement.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Any last thoughts about the future of masterminds?
Yeah, I just think if you don't even know what that word is, or you've never been a part of one and you can't even picture yourself conducting one, then I'd say do the research. Go back and read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, one of the oldies but goodies, and see how he talks about masterminds, the collective wisdom of the room where everyone's getting smarter. Read how he said in 1937 that general knowledge, no matter how vast, how wide, will never result in the creation of revenue. Only specialized knowledge, deep knowledge, specialized knowledge, right? Even Ginny Romney, the CEO of IBM, said, forget blue collar, forget white collar. I want new collar. People that sought specialized knowledge, I want to hire them and immediately put them to work. The world is changing. Masterminds will become the new norm, especially with Tony and I screaming from mountaintops. So this is your time. This is your time to get involved with Scott. This is your time to come watch Tony and I, and let's all change the world together.
Awesome. So you're painting a pretty big picture that this is going to be massive. And I actually agree, because another plat partner in my group, his name's Grong Patel. He actually is anticipating this to be so big that he works for, I won't say the name, they're like one of the biggest social networks. And he's anticipating building a directory just for masterminds, because there's going to be so many. And it's like, how do you find them? Just like a search engine.
I know. I love it. I love it. I love it.
So that's great. So thank you again for being on the show. I so appreciate your time. What a gift to have you agree to come on the show. Thank you so much.
You got it, man. Scott, keep up the good work. And everybody else, go to Groundswell.link. I'll see you guys on the 27th.
Awesome. Well, thanks, everyone. That's another episode of the Groundswell Marketing Podcast. As always, just email me, Scott, at groundswell.marketing, or leave some stars and comments in iTunes and everywhere you find me. And until next time, mahalo.